welcome your host for the evening, Mr. Dwight Drummond.
Benefit Gala Awards presentation, and this year, UWI, we have gone virtual. I'm Dwight Drummond. As always, it is my honor to be your host. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. The COVID-19 pandemic has certainly changed our lives and the way we do things as we navigate through this unprecedented time. Let us acknowledge those lives lost to this pandemic and those working on the front lines, our frontline heroes. Thank you for your care and commitment. Let us also acknowledge the worldwide cry for justice in the wake of the Black Lives Matter protest and the death of Mr. George Floyd. Though we are all gathered from different parts of the world on this Zoom call, we honor the land on which the gala is held every year, the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation, which was subject of an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We honor this land and are grateful to its ancestors, and now more than ever, we call upon our ancestors. Tonight, in the true spirit of this event, we will recognize and celebrate our 2020 honorees, and in so doing, also celebrate that we are able to give students in the Caribbean a chance to dream. You will hear from two of those students tonight. At this time, if you are able, I would ask that you stand for our national anthem. '20 honorees, you have inspired us to be our best selves. Thank you for accepting this honor. A big shout out and thank you to our lead chair and supporters, Scotiabank and Mr. Brendan King. We have existed primarily because of you. Sponsors, donors, supporters, the University of the West Indies, we are all the village. Thanks to everyone for the part you played. This generosity of spirit and love reminds me of the Southern African philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because you are. We are all connected and can only grow and progress through the growth and progression of others. Ubuntu. Dr. Donette Chinloy Chang, Mr. Andrew Chang, and Mrs. Bridget Chang Adoricio, the family of our founding patron, the late Dr. G. Raymond Chang, together with honorary patron Dr. Wesley J. Hall, remain committed to carrying on the job. I now invite Donette to open the event.
Hope you can hear me. Every year I start by thanking you, Dwight Drummond, our host. This year, Dwight, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for hosting and for your role in the Canadian media landscape. Our Caribbean and Black communities and other communities where you, Dwight, mentor, report, and listen. And I know it has been a difficult few weeks for you as it has been for all of us. So Dwight, thank you so much. 2020 honorees, through your works, you have called to action our collective consciousness. At this moment, we are compelled to ponder your toiling and are inspired by your passion in education, social justice, social welfare, the environment, science and technology, business and finance, and your giving back. My warmest congratulations on this award. That you have accepted speaks volumes, and we are so grateful for that. Students, we are so proud that you have taken the opportunity to become your best selves. These scholarships are not a handout. They are a testament to our confidence and trust in you. This is your moment. The late Michael Manley, Prime Minister of Jamaica, left these words for the young, and I quote, "Don't succumb to cynicism. You must know that the earth is yours to inherit or not as you will. View yourselves as a source of new thinking, new energy, but above all, new idealism. You are no longer future leaders. You now lead. But you must lead armed with the history and wisdom of people like our honorees, Dr. Gervin Ferron, Ms. Shastri's Ramnath, Sagicor Financial, the Honorable Margaret McCain, and Dr. David Suzuki, and the late Mr. Harold Brathwaite, who shall be sorely missed. In a time of global pandemic and the resurgence of urgent call for justice and equity for all, our mettle is being tested. We are all being called to be present, be open, and be ready to learn and change. It requires that we all bring together our collective wisdom to be architects of a new and more equitable future. I believe we have about 100 guests, including on the Zoom, including past honorees in our virtual ballroom tonight, from the Caribbean to Amsterdam, Canada to the USA. We are interconnected by technology and the human spirit. I want to give a warm thank you to the Gala committee. It has been quite the journey. The highs and lows are we going to have it or are we not? The team led by Elizabeth Buchanan Hind has brought together this virtual together. Do forgive us if we are a few glitches. We're navigating a whole new world. And as I said that, I also want to address the people who also are very critical to this. Chancellor Robert Bermudez, Vice Chancellor Sir Hilary Beckles, UWI principals Professors Eugene Baratow, Dale Weber, and Brian Copeland, and Dr. Luz Longsworth, Lead Chair Scotiabank, Senior Vice President, International Banking, Scotiabank, Mr. Brendan King, Honorary Co-Patron, Dr. Herbert Hoping Kong, and Mr. Bruce Boyne, guests, friends, sponsors, supporters. So on behalf of my co-patrons, Bridget Chang Adoricio, Andrew Chang, and Wesley J. Hall, welcome to the 2020 UWI Toronto Benefit Gala by Zoom. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the evening and do raise a toast for gratitude. And I hope we will gather soon once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Donette, Andrew, Bridget, and Wes. Hundreds of students in the Caribbean and Canada start and complete their education because of you. And that is an incredible legacy that should last for generations. Ladies and gentlemen, the University of the West Indies is amongst the top 5% worldwide and is the only Caribbean institution on this list and recently celebrated its 70th year. UWI unites and shines the brightest light on who we are as Caribbean people. And I now welcome Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles.
Thank you so very much, my friend Dwight, our host. Thank you so very much. It's wonderful to hear your voice once again. And allow me to recognize our distinguished and lovely patron, Dr. Donette Chang, so good to hear you and to listen to your words and to celebrate you also and your family, and our co-patron, Dr. Wes Hall, good friend and spiritual brother. And of course, to recognize our Chancellor, Mr. Robert Bermudez, and our sponsors, our distinguished sponsors, my colleagues from our distinguished university, and our students, and of course our honorees, the Honorable Margaret McCain, Mr. Harold Brathwaite, Professor Farron and Sagicor Financial, Mr. David Suzuki, and Ms. Shastri Ramnath. Thank you so much for the inspiration you have given all of us by your deeds, by your values, and the virtues that you communicate into the world. Thank you all so very much. This is an extraordinary moment in our history. The world is certainly evolving, but in the midst of it, we recognize that hope is very much on the agenda for a much better world. It is sad and unfortunate that this hope that is now very much before us for a more egalitarian and just world is associated with the historic conjecture of disease and death. But with our collective wisdom, we shall get through all of this. I wish to share with you, colleagues, that the university you celebrate today, our students, our faculty, our mission and our vision, that your university has been very much at the center of the dealing with this pandemic and the mobilization of the people of the Caribbean. UWI Science, UWI Medicine has been in the vanguard of this, working with our governments, working with our communities, and helping the region to get through this. Indeed, our heads of governments have celebrated the fact that this university has made all the difference in helping the region to cope with and to transcend and to contain this virus. So I celebrate my colleagues, I celebrate students, and our principals are here. Wonderful work our campuses have done across this region. But this is the moment that has shown that societies with good universities are the ones that are resilient. Our university has demonstrated this. And I can say to you, colleagues, that while the last 3 months of the work done by our university, these last 3 months has been our finest hour. We have saved lives and we have helped our people. But at the same time, it has revealed the fundamental inequalities in our societies. It has exposed a large number of students who are without material access and equity access to higher education. And the concept of this gathering to support brilliant young people in need of access to higher education. This moment has revealed the significance of what we do, that there are deserving young people in large numbers. So we celebrate you for celebrating them, for giving them a chance, and what a wonderful opportunity it is for you all to say to these young people, difficult times, but we have your back because we know you will make a great contribution. So I thank all of you sponsors, benefactors, for being there to assist these extraordinary young people who will make a tremendous impact in the region and the world in the years ahead. So blessings to everyone, and thank you all very much indeed. Thank you.
Your words this evening and your continued writings that have been so important, not only to the Caribbean region, but to the world in general. So thank you. For 11 years, Scotiabank has remained as the event's lead chair, always, as they say, having our back. It speaks volumes when a partner not only stays with you, but actually ups the ante. And that's exactly what Scotiabank did with the UWI Toronto Benefit Gala. Thanks again, Scotiabank. And I would like to now invite Mr. Brendan King, Senior Vice President, Regional International Banking from Scotiabank, for his remarks.
Thank you, Dwight. Thank you, Sir Hilary, for your words. And of course, Danette, thank you for yours. I really appreciate the opportunity to join you all here this evening. And I know we'd all have preferred to be together in person, enjoying another spectacular evening at the Ritz-Carlton. But it's great we're getting together this way to celebrate very worthy achievements. As always, let me thank Danette, Bridget, Andrew, and the whole Chang family, and Wes Hall and his family, and of course, the outstanding Gala team for another tremendous year to support UWI. First of all, I hope that everyone has been staying safe and healthy. I know our daily lives have changed considerably over the past few months. At Scotiabank, I could not be prouder of the resiliency of our employees across the Caribbean as they've continued to serve our customers and support our communities during these difficult times. Our top priority as an organization has been the health and safety of our employees and customers. I really commend our leadership team for their quick response to implement new safety measures across our branches and offices. We have focused on the power of digital as well to bring the bank home to our customers so they can stay home and stay safe. We've seen a tremendous increase in use of our leading edge mobile banking platform across the Caribbean as users see how easy it is to bank where and when they want. Right now, we're facing not only a global health crisis, but we've seen protests across the United States, Canada, and other countries as citizens are standing up to say enough is enough to racism, injustice, and inequality. At Scotiabank, as our CEO, Brian Porter, shared in a message to all of us last week, we believe that our diversity is the real strength of our organization. And in the Caribbean, our teams and leadership across the region is composed almost exclusively of Caribbean nationals. But we need to do more. And I'm talking with thought leaders like Wes Hall and others about how I and our bank can do more to combat racism and help build inclusive societies. A key area we're working on is unconscious bias, the inclination to favor people who look and think like the majority group. In all our hiring and promotional processes, we're required to have diverse candidates applying, as well as diverse interview panels. As well, all Scotiabank staff must annually take a course on recognizing and combating unconscious bias. With these and more efforts, and a focus that doesn't fade when the headlines do, we can and are making real progress. In support of these efforts, we recently announced a Canadian $500,000 donation to 2 leading organizations to assist their efforts in this cause. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. That's why we're so proud of our expanded partnership with the University of the West Indies. Together, we can work to provide equal access to education through our new Scotiabank scholarships that help break down barriers for our next generation of leaders. In January, while I could still travel, I had the opportunity to visit the UWI campuses in Trinidad and Jamaica. And it's clear to me this dynamic institution is helping build brighter futures for young people across the Caribbean. During my visit, I had the pleasure to meet our next speaker, Mr. Moyton May, who is a UWI Toronto Gala scholarship recipient. Moyton will be graduating with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Marine Sciences with a minor in Computer Science. He was born in Kingston in dire financial circumstances and overcame monumental challenges. Despite the hardships, he persevered. And today, thanks to his dedication and the assistance from the UWI Toronto Benefit and such organizations as Grace Kennedy, he's completed his degree and is currently working in his field and is well on his way to a successful career. Moyton, thank you for joining us tonight to share your story, and I turn it over to you. Enjoy the evening, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Moyton May, and I'm extremely honored to be a recipient of the UWI Toronto Gala Scholarship. I'm a final year student pursuing a major in marine biology and a minor in computer science in the Faculty of Science and Technology at the UWI Mona campus. Despite growing up not knowing my father or living with my mother, moving from place to place, living with strangers in some of the most volatile communities in Jamaica, being abandoned and left on a bench at the family court in Kingston, at the age of 10. And growing up in 3 different government homes, I didn't give up. I persevered. I worked and I went to evening classes and I acquired 7 CXC subjects, despite having nowhere to live, going countless nights without meal, and having to sleep at the school at nights on chairs. Encouraged by my determination, I was assisted to complete an associate degree at the Knox Community College, where I obtained 8 units of CAPE. I started university, but unfortunately, I had to sit out a few years due to the lack of financial and moral support. But by the grace of God, I was able to resume my studies in 2017, and I am now on course to graduate at the end of this semester. This UWI Toronto Gala Scholarship has greatly impacted my life. I was able to cover my basic living expenses last semester and repay a few loans which I had incurred over the past 2 academic years. A huge financial burden was lifted from my shoulders. And as a result of that, I was able to focus more on my studies and adequately prepare for my exams. This scholarship has also opened doors for me. I'm now working at Mona Geoinformatics Institute, MGI, at the University of the West Indies. The director of MGI is Dr. Paris UWI Jr., sorry for the name, who I recently learned is the nephew of the late Ray Chan. So ladies and gentlemen, this is my story. It is the voice representing so many other students who have benefited from the UWI Toronto Gala Scholarship. And on behalf of us all, I would like to express a sincere appreciation to Mr. Brendan King, the Chang family, Mrs. Elizabeth Buchanan, and the wonderful donors and sponsors of this prestigious award. I would like to thank you all personally for your generosity and investment in my life. I will continue to work hard and inspire and encourage others to persevere in spite of their adversities. Thank you.
Thank you, Morrison. You know, we love hearing from our patrons, our chancellors, and our sponsors, but it is the students and the stories that we hear that really drive us. And what an inspiration you are, Morrison. You are an amazing young man. As we say in Jamaica, sir, enough respect, greatly inspiring and humble, and sounds like insurmountable odds, but you overcame them. And we are happy that this gala has helped you to achieve that. So thank you. And thanks also to Brendan King, Scotiabank. You know, Brendan and his wife, Sandy, have been incredible supporters and ambassadors for this event. So once again, thank you. Because of your generosity and the kindness, by 2021, about 600 outstanding students in dire need, like Morton, will receive financial assistance and moral support from Canada. Chancellor Robert Bermudez brings greetings now on behalf of the University of the West Indies. He's a well-respected Caribbean business leader and philanthropist. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Chancellor Bermudez.
Thank you, Dwight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be bringing greetings from the University of the West Indies. This is not really what we had in mind when we started planning this event. But life has a way of presenting us with turns and twists. And this is certainly one of the most unexpected twists in our lifetime. The Toronto Benefit Gala has become one of the most significant events in UWI's fundraising efforts. It has helped numerous young West Indians born with talent and ambition, but not necessarily the resources to obtain a world-class education. I, from the bottom of my heart, would like to thank each one of you on behalf of the students of the university. The crisis of 2020 is going to make events such as these more important than ever, as all indications are that our economies will take time to recover. However, some good things are happening. The pandemic is driving change at the university at a pace never thought possible. As one example, students will now be receiving their tuition via the internet. This is something which had been discussed for many years, but now, in a matter of a few months, it has become a reality. The university will drive change within its walls and support the countries across the region as they readjust to their new normal. The Vice-Chancellor referred to this in the matter of health in the recent pandemic. On behalf of the university, its faculty, staff, and students, I would like to thank Donette Chin Loy Chang, Andrew Chang, Bridget Chang Adaricio, Wesley Hall, Brandon King, and Scotiabank for their enormous contribution to the success of this event and the young people who benefit from it. I acknowledge Dwight Drummond for the wonderful job that he does as Master of Ceremonies, and Elizabeth Buchanan Hine for her commitment to this event. I congratulate all of our awardees this year. Their life stories and achievements, their contribution to their communities and society stands as a shining example to our students of what is possible with ambition, opportunity, and an education. I look forward to hearing from each of you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Chancellor Bermudez and Vice Chancellor Hilary Beckles. You know what? Canada has your back, and we got this.
We got this. Yeah. I feel make it. Ooh. We don't have no other choice but to be strong.
We're gonna make it.
What do you mean? Why God?
I am a voice of hope, and I just wanna let you know that I believe in our strength as a people and the promise of a bright tomorrow.
And I want you to believe and trust.
I know God is watching over us, and
I believe if we all come together now, everything will be alright.
if we only press on,
Strengthen the bond and the ties among these generation.
unite and be one, the fight will be won.
Come on, Caribbean.
Don't worry about the circumstances, don't stress about the fears and the madness. Together we will take our chance and light
It's time to be strong, the battle is on.
And the future of each generation. Every daughter and son united as one.
Sing on, Caribbean. Don't worry about the circumstances. Don't stress about the fears and the madness. Together we will take our chance at life and confidence. Don't worry about the circumstances.
Must come.
Don't stress about the fears and the madness. Together we will take our chance.
No stress.
We got this. We got this. We got this. We got
Hear me? Rough it up, the dirty enough, still have to get up. Don't for me now, the giddy and we have to stand up. As virus a rush, we still can't touch, we still can't crush we. We have faith, hope, strength, protection, and the Almighty.
And we prayed up, yes, yes, we prayed up. And we stayed up, yes, yes, we stayed up. Head high full of confidence, we not keep bucket, tell them we never gave up. Big up essential workers, rest in peace, we fallen soldiers. Corona can't conquer, we West Indies, one love and unity.
Don't worry about the circumstances. Don't stress about the fears and the madness. Together we will take our chance at life. We got this. We got this. We got this. We got this.
Yes, we got this. That was beautiful, written by Barbadian songwriter Ian Webster in collaboration with Cheyenne Jones, Chris Allman and Selwyn Jones in collaboration with 25 artists from 14 countries across the region. It pays tribute to the COVID-19 battle across the Caribbean and the unity needed to win that fight. Ladies and gentlemen, the awards ceremony is about to start. Every year, we honor outstanding individuals and organizations whose transformative leadership is underpinned with compassion, zeal, and grit. Often facing and overcoming great challenges, they advocate for justice in all of its forms, and always moving with a sense of hope, optimism, an eye on the moment and on the future. And tonight, we are proud to honor 6 extraordinary leaders. The G. Raymond Chang Award is presented to individuals who exemplify the leadership ideals for which Ray stood. Please watch this tribute.
My philosophy of life is kindness and caring for our fellow citizens, country, world, and planet, says Dr. Margaret Norrie McCain. The Honourable Margaret Norrie McCain, a leading voice and champion in early childhood education, was born in northern Quebec. Her father was a prominent mining engineer and her mother was Senator Margaret Norrie of Truro, Nova Scotia. Mrs. McCain's passion for the well-being of children and families led her to assist in establishing the Muriel McQueen Ferguson Foundation in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Its mission: the elimination of family violence through education and research. Together with Dr. Fraser Mustard, an international authority on early childhood development, she co-chaired a study commissioned by the Ontario government, which was released in 1999. It was adopted by the UN, World Bank and IMF and several countries as a blueprint for early childhood development. She has received 15 honorary degrees and bestowed the Order of Canada in the Officer and Companion categories. In 1994, Mrs. McCain was appointed Lieutenant Governor of the province of New Brunswick, the first female to hold this position. Inspired by Dr. Fraser Mustard and scientists in early childhood development and education, she's currently chair of the Margaret and Wallace McCain Family Foundation, whose mission is to champion effective early childhood programs across Canada. She was married to the late entrepreneur G. Wallace F. McCain and has 4 children and 9 grandchildren. These days, she loves reading and traveling. Her commitment to the Caribbean is strong, with a school she has built in Jamaica, funded a house for a family in Haiti, and has provided scholarships for students to attend the University of the West Indies. Tonight, we honor the Honorable Margaret Norrie McCain with the G. Raymond Chang Award.
Thank you, Dwight. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Vice Chancellor, members of the distinguished University of West Indies community, Donette Chang, members of the Chang family, I want to express my sincere gratitude to you for the Raymond Chang Award and for this tribute video. May I also congratulate the other award winners and especially the students who have won distinguished scholarships. I congratulate the students especially for their perseverance and their determination to overcome difficult obstacles. The University of West Indies is recognized internationally for their excellence in higher education, so to be honored by you fills me with a deep sense of humility and gratitude. May I also take a moment to applaud you, the University of West Indies, for your contribution to the advancement of quality education at all levels throughout the West Indies. The high quality of your academic programs and the accessibility to them through scholarships and bursaries is commendable. You are preparing these leaders of tomorrow with the best in education to function in the global village of the future. So I applaud you, I congratulate you, and I especially congratulate all the student winners of bursaries and awards. I thank you most heartily for this award, and I am grateful for this wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Margaret McCain. They say that education is the foundation that everything else is built on, and you are an icon in education. So thank you for joining us this evening. Next is the Vice Chancellor's Award. This award is presented to individuals of Caribbean heritage or those whose works have made great impact on the Caribbean. Our first honoree is Mr. Harold Brathwaite. Sadly, Mr. Brathwaite passed away 2 weeks ago on May 31st. Mr. Harold Brathwaite's daughter, Michelle, will be accepting the award on his behalf this evening. So please join me first in a moment of silence for Mr. Harold Brathwaite.
Setting a good example was important, as I could not afford to fail in any role, as I wanted to create opportunities for other minorities, says Harold Brathwaite. Mr. Brathwaite is an outstanding educator and champion for public education and issues of equity. A proud card-carrying Bayesian, he was born in Carrington Village, Barbados, where he never dreamt, when milking goats at age 7, that one day a school in Ontario, Canada, would bear his name. Educated at the University of the West Indies, Université de Lyon, and McMaster University, he taught at the elementary, secondary, and university levels. His exemplary career culminated in promotion to Director of Education for the Peel District School Board in 1994, where he retired in 2002. And in 2003, he became Senior Advisor to the President of Seneca College and has been on the Board of Governors and Chair of the Advisory Council of the Ontario Institute of Studies in Education. His many recognitions include the Peel Board's Education Champion Award, Distinguished Alumnus Scholar, McMaster University, 1995 Canadian Black Achievement Award Education, the Harry Jerome Award, and the Barbados Ball Canada Errol Walton Barrow Award. In 2006, he was bestowed the Order of Ontario. Mr. Brathwaite continues community involvement as a trustee of the Art Gallery of Ontario, member of the board of the United Way of Peel Region, and chair of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund Canada. Forever inspired by his parents and young children because of their potential, as well as legends Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Mandela, and the UN Secretaries General, he's a professed news junkie and enjoys fishing, gardening, cooking, and Formula One racing. Tonight, we honor Mr. Harold Brathwaite with the Vice Chancellor's Award.
You can hear me? Great. So, my name is Michelle Brathwaite, and I am pleased that I can join you from my dad's birth country, Barbados. On behalf of my father, Harold Brathwaite, myself, and my family, I would like to thank the Office of the Vice Chancellor and the University of the West Indies Toronto Benefit Gala, as well as the Chang family, for awarding my dad a 2020 Vice Chancellor Award in acknowledgement of his contributions to education in Canada and in the Caribbean. I know my father was deeply honored and excited about being selected for this award. In fact, we discussed the possibility of my traveling to Toronto to join him and the rest of the family for a special evening. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 crisis and life did not make that possible. But if my father were here, the very first person he would thank is the woman he described as his first teacher, the woman who taught him how to read and to write, his mother, Lottie Brathwaite. My grandmother was always unapologetically proud of her big son and his accomplishments, but my dad always made sure to credit his commitment to education to my grandmother and my grandfather. The importance and value of education was something that my father believed in very deeply, and he raised his own children and mentored other people's children in that tradition. In so doing, Dad was an inspiration and an exceptional example for me, my sister, my cousins, and his students. In fact, education carried a lot of weight in our household, so much so that maybe his children sometimes perceived it as a burden. But one of the times that weight seemed to be lifted is when Daddy spoke about his time at Mona. University years are frequently formative for those of us who were fortunate enough to attend. But one of the times that weight seemed to be lifted is when Daddy spoke about his time at Mona. University years are frequently formative for those of us fortunate enough to attend, but that seemed particularly true for my father's generation at Mona. Daddy frequently spoke about the classes, books, and poetry that resonated most with him while he was there. He loved to test his professors whenever he could. And he also claimed some athletic exploits that my sister and I always viewed with a little bit of suspicion. But those memories were always shared with warmth and happiness, and he held them fondly for the rest of his life. So I am glad that I can share with you today that the day before he died, the award was delivered to our home, and my family took the award to the hospital for him to see it. It is a comfort to me and my family that one of my father's last memories was being the recipient of this great honor from an institution and a community that he loved. So on his behalf, again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Michelle, and our condolences for your loss. As someone who grew up in this town, we knew how important the Brathwaite name was when it came to education. Your father was a great community leader. I had the pleasure of meeting him numerous times. We shall miss him very much. So thank you for doing the speech from Barbados tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch the next tribute.
I work hard that even in a small way, I can contribute to the lives of others who depend on decision makers to have a degree of care and understanding for their challenges, says Gervin Ferron. Dr. Gervin Ferron is President and Vice Chancellor of Brock University and is the only Black Canadian president of the 97 universities in Canada. He was born in England of Jamaican parents who traveled to Canada when he was 9. After traveling the globe in several academic pursuits, he settled back in Canada to join academic leadership as former President and Vice Chancellor of Brandon University, former Dean of the G. Raymond Chang School at Ryerson University, and Associate Dean at York University. His contribution to community is vast, having served as President of Tropicana Community Services, Brandon's Urban Aboriginal People's Council, and most recently, together with Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Dr. Ferron helmed the establishment of the Canadian Caribbean Institute. He also served in Ontario's Ministries of Finance and Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. He's a proud alumna of the University of Western Ontario and University of Guelph, and recipient of several awards including the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. With a keen sense of history and recognition of the sacrifices of his parents, this cancer survivor is inspired to honor them by using his time, health, and energy effectively. He's inspired by Sir Arthur Lewis, Mandela, Michel Jean, Einstein, Louise Arbour, and Bob Marley, and loves to play chess and the saxophone and travel with his wife, Dr. Kathy Moscow. Tonight, we honor Dr. Gervin Ferran with the Vice Chancellor's Award.
I would like to thank Sir Hilary Beckles for this award and all those who have made this special event such an occasion. The University of the West Indies plays an important role in support of the dreams of talented individuals who make a contribution to the Caribbean region as well as the world. The UWI Gala provides scholarships and creates opportunities for a new generation that can achieve and can approach their world with a sense of hopefulness and possibility. Like many Jamaican parents, our parents set a university education as a goal for us. I'd like to recognize and thank my brother Al, my sisters Marlene and Maureen. They have been my bedrock. My life partner, Kathy Moscow, is and has always been my support up and down the hills of life. We're proud of our children who've gone on to make their own contribution to society. They challenge us, they inspire us to be at our best. Growing up, I was motivated by a simple motto: make our parents proud, make our family proud. I believe our parents would be proud of us all today. My approach to success has been simple: work hard at learning things, improve upon what I have learned, and apply my knowledge and talent, and all my talents, to the betterment of others and society. Thank you very much for this award. Thank you to the Chang family. Congratulations to all the other recipients, as well as to the outstanding students recognized tonight and always supported by the University of the West Indies. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Dr. Ferran. We were sad when we lost you at Ryerson, but you and Dr. Kathy were just too good for us not to share with the rest of the country. So thank you and congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch the next tribute.
It brings me great joy knowing that my colleagues and the companies we have built are safe places to work, says Shastri Ramnath. Miss Ramnath is a professional geoscientist and entrepreneur with 20 years of global experience within the exploration and mining industry. She was born in Arborg, Manitoba, a small agricultural town of 1,000 people, and is first-generation Canadian with a Trinidadian father and a German-Canadian mother. Referring to herself as an overeducated geopreneur, she's an alumna of the University of Manitoba, Athabasca University, and Rhodes University in South Africa. As president and CEO of Bridgeport Ventures, Inc., she raised over $17 million in the capital markets and merged the company with Premier Royalty. She co-founded Oryx Geoscience, Inc., which was voted one of the top 50 workplaces in Canada for 2019. More recently, she co-founded X-Zero Minerals. Together with building ethical businesses, she counts having a baby at 41 years old as significant accomplishments, sending the message to women that you can have it all. As a student at Rhodes in South Africa, she volunteered at a public hospital and gained an appreciation of being Canadian upon encountering blatant racism. In 2013, she was nominated for the RBC Canadian Woman Entrepreneur of the Year for Canada, and is chairing the Manitoba Liaison Committee on Mining and Exploration to advise the Manitoba government, and will launch Women in Mining Winnipeg. She is inspired by laughter and believes doing the right thing is always more important than being right. She counts Mandela and Leonard Cohen amongst her icons and loves travel, good food, and fine wine. Tonight, we honor Miss Shastri Ramnath with the Vice Chancellor's Award.
This honor, and congratulations to the other recipients and students. Imagine it's 1963 and my dad is 19 years old, boarding a plane with his brothers. My dad, also known as my Trinidaddy, just finished illustrating a book called The Common Weeds of Trinidad and Tobago for the University of West Indies when he was accepted to the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg. My family in the 1960s didn't have much, but through an investment my Aja made, he made enough money to educate all 5 of his boys. Imagine my Aji sending off 4 out of 5 of her sons all at once. Think about it. They were kids leaving Trinidad on a one-way ticket to a foreign country during the 60s. No phone, no internet, and no communication other than through handwritten letters. Fast forward 10 years to 1973, my father meets and marries my mother, the blondest Mennonite, who we affectionately call our Mommonite. As you can imagine, my father, his parents, and his brothers all have their own truths. It's 2020, the day George Floyd died. I received an email from a stranger complaining about East Indian people. They clearly didn't recognize that my name was East Indian. My brother and I have witnessed prejudice through law enforcement, and last month again, I stared misogyny in the eyes. We are here to celebrate and contribute to education. As a woman operating as a scientist and a business owner, why do I still experience misogyny and prejudice? I've decided that education itself doesn't teach people that we are equal. Here is my truth. Education only gives us the power, the confidence, and the platforms like this one to speak up. To be educated is to be strong. We must support the institutions like the University of the West Indies if we are going to change the attitudes in our world. I thank my Trinidaddy and my Mommonite for making me feel stronger and smarter than I actually am. I leave you with the words of my Aja. Be well, be kind, and no matter what, we must acknowledge the realities of our world and speak up for what is right. We must weed hate out of this world, and education is the path. Thank you.
Important message and important words there from Miss Shastri Ramnath. Your Trinidaddy and your Mommonite will be very proud. Now, the Chancellor's Award is presented to organizations or institutions that have contributed significantly to the Caribbean and its people, or brought prominence to issues which affect the region. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch the next tribute video.
A quote documented in the Historical Words of Wisdom for Sagicor reads, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." And what a future Sagicor created. 180 years old, it is the second oldest insurer in all the Americas and reminds us, older than the light bulb. It operates in 22 countries, including the Caribbean, Latin America, and the United States of America, providing a wide range of financial solutions. With great pride, this indigenous Barbadian entity began as the Barbados Mutual Life Assurance Society in 1840 and sold a single line of life insurance in Barbados with a staff of 3. Today, with 4,500 employees and 600,000 customers, Sagicor's mission centers on caring for its local and global communities, and are proud to say our organization is built on our values of timelessness, borderless, colorless, and fairness. Our similarities far outweigh our differences. Quintessentially Caribbean, Sagicor aligns itself with organizations and causes that play a significant role in the development, unification, and integration of the Caribbean region, in particular the University of the West Indies. Sagicor has gifted the university over $5 million supporting education, health, sport, youth and community development, and the environment at the national, regional, and international levels. Pointing to the future, it advises the next generation. Find your own unique voices, boldly challenge what many believe is set in stone, and create authentically. Tonight, we honor Sagicor with the Chancellor's Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, the recipient of the 2020 Chancellor's Award, Sagicor Financial Company Limited. I now invite Dr. Stephen McNamara, Chairman, Sagicor Life, Inc., to accept the award on behalf of Sagicor.
Our host, Mr. Dwight Drummond, Chancellor, Mr. Robert Bermudez, Vice Chancellor, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, co-patrons, Dr. Donette Chinloy Chang and Mrs. Bridget Chang Adoricio, honorary patron, Dr. Wesley J. Hall, lead chair, Mr. Brendan King, honorees, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all from St. Lucia. On behalf of the President and the CEO and the Board of Directors of Sagicor Financial Company Limited, it is an honor and a pleasure to accept, albeit virtually, the Chancellor's Award on Sagicor's behalf. I wish to first express sincere gratitude to the University of the West Indies for their recognition of our efforts in the corporate social responsibility arena and for the establishment of this platform, which provides an occasion for the acknowledgement of our endeavors. At Sagicor, our vision rests on a model of philanthropy and simply this: to be a great company committed to improving the lives of the people in the communities in which we operate. Acts as the compass for our corporate direction and guides everything we do, every organization we support, every community we uplift. It is our perpetual driving force and must continue to be so. Social responsibility can no longer be considered an optional activity, but rather it is our duty, particularly in times such as these, when the entire world grapples with life during COVID-19. It is imperative that we do our best on behalf of our communities. Corporate social upliftment has long been the key to unlocking our immense potential here in the region. It can ensure that our citizens present themselves as a force on the world stage and that our communities remain viable in the long term. As such, we will continue on this path, brick by brick, laying the foundation upon which the future of the Caribbean can and will flourish. We understand, however, that the construction of such an enduring foundation takes determined people, hard work, dedicated organizations, a steady focus, and most of all, a collective effort towards a shared goal. We will therefore continue to work alongside the University of the West Indies, other community groups and organizations to ensure that our people have the best opportunities that can be afforded them. In turn, we acknowledge that the work of charitable organizations and those who join us in the effort to help cannot be successful unless the individuals and companies behind them operate with honesty, integrity, and trust. We have been most fortunate to have worked with many who possess these traits over the years. In closing, I wish to say that we are humbled by this award. Again, we thank the University of the West Indies for their acknowledgement of Sagicor and the other honorees receiving awards on this special evening, whom we heartily wish to congratulate. We look forward with renewed enthusiasm to continuing the great tradition of service to the community, which Sagicor has been diligently pursuing for the last 178 years. I thank you.
And thank you and congratulations, Sagicor Financial and Dr. Stephen McNamara, Chairman, Sagicor Life, Inc., for everything that you continue to do, as you said, to unlock the potential of Caribbean people. The final award for the evening, the Luminary Award, is presented to individuals whose works have brought prominence to issues which greatly affect the Caribbean and the world. Please watch the next tribute.
Dad always told me not to be afraid, not to look a wild animal in the eye and slowly back away. I never had a serious encounter. They were my friends, and I learned to love nature, says David Takeyoshi Suzuki. Dr. David Suzuki is a scientist, broadcaster, author, and a lifelong advocate for social justice, particularly of marginalized peoples and protection of the environment. He is companion to the Order of Canada and a recipient of UNESCO's Kalinga Prize for Science, the United Nations Environment Programme Medal, and UNEP's Global 500. He holds 29 honorary degrees from universities around the world and is inspired by Gandhi and Mandela. His early life, however, was a far cry from the honors and esteem that ensued in later years. Second-generation Canadian-Japanese, he was born in Vancouver into a working-class family. But in 1941, Pearl Harbor changed everything. At 5 years old, he and his family were shipped out to an abandoned city along with many Japanese families and declared the enemy. Thus sparked his fight against racism and bigotry and interest in genetics, a decisive factor that he says led to the Japanese incarceration in North America. He hosts CBC Television's science and natural history series, The Nature of Things, and originally hosted CBC Radio's Quirks and Quarks, and the acclaimed series It's a Matter of Survival and From Naked Ape to Super Species. In 1990, he co-founded with Dr. Tara Cullis the David Suzuki Foundation to conserve our environment and find solutions that create a sustainable Canada. Dr. Suzuki has written more than 55 books, 19 of them for children, and together with nature, his children and grandchildren, is reminded that the planet is still an amazing place filled with surprise and delight. After all, he abandoned being a doctor to study fruit flies. Tonight, we honor Dr. David Suzuki with the Luminary Award.
Thank you so much for this recognition. I would like to make a special acknowledgement with gratitude of Raymond Chang and his family's support of my environmental projects over the years. Young people today face an unprecedented and uncertain future. They're not yet committed to the status quo, so they can explore ideas and solutions for a better future. And that's why universities and professors are so important. You see, human beings are now a geological force, altering the biological, physical, and chemical properties of this planet. This is the Anthropocene, the age of humans. But we don't know enough to predict the impact of everything we do. And so often we end up undermining the very things that keep us alive and healthy: the air, water, soil, photosynthesis, and the web of life. We have to change direction from the impossible demand for endless growth that is driving us today. COVID-19, climate change, species extinction, the market meltdown, fluctuating oil prices, and George Floyd's murder are multiple crises that provide an enormous opportunity to recognize and sustain the things that really matter: family, friends, community, and nature. I am sure the University of the West Indies is playing a big role in guiding young minds. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Dr. David Suzuki, a great Canadian icon and one of the world's most respected environmentalists. He's been warning us about the dangers in the environment since I was a kid watching The Nature of Things in this country. Also lucky to be his colleague at CBC Television. So thank you. Congratulations, Dr. Suzuki. Ladies and gentlemen, Madame et Monsieur, that concludes the awards portion of the evening, but we're not finished yet. We're here for the students. We're here for the future leaders, and we'd like to hear from one of them right now. Mr. Lenz Vincent is our second student scholarship recipient who will share his story. Here's a little bit about him. He is Bahamian and currently a fourth-year student pursuing a Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery degree on the Mona campus in Jamaica. Len survived the ravages of Hurricane Dorian because he was actually in Jamaica at UWI when the hurricane flattened part of his home island, the Bahamas. Others were not that fortunate. Well, tonight, Lenz shares his story. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Lenz Vincent.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. The hurricane in the Bahamas last year affected many families. For me, it resulted in the death of both of my parents in Abaco, Bahamas. For all intent and purposes, this signified the end of my journey in medical school. My parents' financial assistance to me throughout the years kept my goal of becoming a geriatric physician alive. And with their demise, I expected that this goal too would soon perish. Due to a lack of financial clearance, I was unable to register for classes. Turning to family members for financial assistance yielded little results. I was not their responsibility. Neither did they have any interest in the achievements of my goals. After exhausting all possible routes for financial assistance, I patiently awaited my removal from the program. However, receiving this reward, the UWI Toronto Gala Scholarship, has given me a chance to continue marching towards my goal, a goal my parents and I have been pursuing for the past 24 years of my life. I am sincerely honored to have been selected as a recipient of the UWI Toronto Gala Scholarship for the 2019 to 2020 academic year. I want to thank you for your generosity, which has allowed me and the other recipients to continue the pursuit of a higher education, free from the financial constraints that can sometimes cripple academic progress. Mere words cannot fully convey my gratitude towards the donors and organizers of this scholarship. Although our stories may differ, we, the recipients, deeply thank you for your generosity, which has lightened our financial burden and allows us to focus more on the most important aspect of school, learning. Your generosity has inspired us to help others and to give back to our communities. I hope that one day, we, the recipients, will help others achieve their goals just as you have helped us. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you again for your thoughtful and generous gift. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Lenz. We look forward to the day when we refer to you as Dr. Vincent. Wishing you the very best, sir. Now more than ever, students who are fighting to stay in school because they are lacking simple tools for online learning in this unprecedented time are incredibly vulnerable and in need of our help. Consider this also. Already battling a global pandemic, the Caribbean now faces another hurricane season this month and then again in November. Let's please take a moment to let that sink in. Please keep the region top of mind and in your heart and in your giving. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my greatest pleasure to ask Dr. Wesley J. Hall, or Wes, as he's known to us, honorary patron of the UWI Toronto Benefit Gala, whose extraordinary support and love continues to enable that audacious dream, yes, you can. To provide us now with our closing remarks, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wesley J. Hall.
Thank you, Dwight. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity for me to speak here tonight. And this is an important occasion. We're here to celebrate Shine Your Light campaign that was established to raise funds for those students affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. If you haven't done so already, I would strongly encourage you to make a donation through the UWI Gala website at uwitoronto.gala.org. And let me tell you why. First, we have been fortunate to have an anonymous donor come forward and agree to match each dollar raised. So more money for a good cause is always a great thing. Second, and more importantly, never in the history of our world are the highly talented and educated Black young people that UWI graduates been needed more. This is where I go off script, folks. those of you who may have seen the brutal murder of George Floyd, and my T-shirt actually says I'm George Floyd. And for those of you who have been watching the news, see that I've been very vocal about what's really happening with regard to anti-Black systemic racism, in particular in Canada. I was the first Black leader to speak out about the issue, and felt that it was very important for me to lend my voice to that issue, because it has been really just like the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic has been a plague on our society for over 400 years. There are a lot of very smart, hardworking students like Lenz and Moyton that would spend a lot of time, hard work, graduate from university, and then they apply for a job, and due to anti-Black systemic racism, that they just cannot participate in the system. There are barriers in the system that prevents them from getting a decent job. So I have spoken out about those barriers, but I also suggested that we come up with solutions to replace those barriers with access. So when Moyton and Lenz leaves school, they can be treated equally like anybody else that have worked as hard as they do. Trying to do that, I talked to a bunch of business leaders in this country, and I told them that we would like to form a coalition. And the coalition is essentially the Canadian Council of Business Leaders Against Anti-Black Systemic Racism. And what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to identify all those barriers as they relate to anti-Black systemic racism, and one by one dismantle those barriers. We will look at the healthcare system, and we'll dismantle the barriers as it relates to Black. Consider some of the statistics. In the United States, 23% of Americans who have died from COVID-19 deaths were Black. And we look at the in the UK as to proper healthcare. Education is the same thing. So we want to make sure that when we donate to these causes, these wonderful causes like university, and our wonderful Black students graduate, that they have a place to work. So the Black North Initiative, which I have dedicated a big portion of my wealth to ensure that that initiative is put in place, what we're going to do is we're going to hold companies accountable. We're going to ensure that management, board of directors, and large companies in Canada, that they make sure that there's room for Black people in those organizations. We have 3.5 million people in this country, and on the boards of Canada, there's practically 0.1% of Black representation, not only the board, but in senior management team. Those numbers must change. We do have a plan as business leaders, and we do believe that we can accomplish them. So that's me going off script. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this group. And hopefully, once we dismantle this anti-Black systemic system, and by the way, we're not here to solve the problem of racism. We will not solve that problem. It's a cultural issue, and we can't solve it. But we certainly can remove the barriers that causes anti-Black systemic racism. And I've devoted, again, my time, energy, my funds to make sure that we put a big dent in that within the next 3 to 5 years. Again, thanks for listening to me.
And thank you, Marcel. Hoping to have you on my newscast to talk about this in the near future. Thank you so much, Wes, for continuing to lead. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this Zoom Celebration 2020. Never have we been so far apart, but yes, so near, thanks to technology. Hopefully the next time we meet, we will all be in the same room. Please stay safe and healthy, and promise that you will keep in touch, because there is a lot going on in the world right now, as Wes was talking about. There's a lot of work to do and some heavy lifting, and I know that the people on this Zoom call tonight are all part of the solution. You are all now part of the UWI Benefit Gala family. Let us know how you're doing from time to time and look out for our monthly newsletter. And please remember to support the cause. Every gift counts. Until we gather again, as we say in Jamaica, walk good, and it is all one love. We leave you with Trinidad's great former UWI Toronto Gala honoree, Dr. David Rudder.
But down here, just a chink in the armor is enough to lose a friend. Some of the old generals have retired and gone, and the runs don't come as they did before. But when the two says go, don't you know the desert is come? We've lost the battle, but yet we will win the war. Forever, rally round the West Indies. Never say never. Pretty soon the reruns are gonna flow out like water, bringing so much joy to each and every son and daughter. Say we gonna rise again like a raging fire. As the sun shines, you know we gonna take it. Rally round the West Indies, one forever, yes. Rally round the West Indies, stoke up the fire, way down under a warrior falls. Michael holding falls in the heat of the battle. Michael should have left long time. I heard an unfree brother shout, Caribbean man, that is the root of our trouble. Oh, in these tiny theaters of conflict and confusion, better known as the Isles of the West Indies, we already know who brought us here and who created this confusion. So I'm begging my people, please, oh, to you and me to make sure that they fail. Soon we must take a sign or be lost in the rubble in a divided world that don't need islands no more. Are we doomed forever to be at somebody's mercy? Little keys can open up mighty doors. Rally, rally from the West Indies, now and forever. Yeah. Rally, rally from the West Indies, never say never. No. Pretty soon the runs are gonna flow again like water, bringing so much joy to each and every son. Then we gonna rise again like a raging fire. After sun shines, you know we gonna take it higher. But we got to what? Rally, rally round the West Indies, now and forever. We got to rally, rally round the West Indies, never, never say never. For 10 long years, we ruled the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming to an end. But down here, just a chink in the armor is enough, enough to lose a friend. Some of the old generals have retired and gone, and the runs don't come as they did before. But when the two say so, don't you know the desert is come? We've lost the battle, but yet we will win the war. As long as we rally, rally round the West Indies, now and forever. Rally, rally round the West Indies, never say never. Pretty soon the runs are gonna flow out like water, bringing so much joy to each and every son and daughter. So we gonna rise again like a raging fire. As the sun shines, you know we gonna take it higher. We gotta rally, rally round the West Indies, now and forever. Yes, rally, rally round the West Indies, stoke up the fire. like a raging fire. As the sun shines, you know we gon' take it higher. What we got to what? Rally. Rally round the West Indies. One forever, yeah. Rally. Rally round the West Indies. Never say never. Now they're making restrictions and laws to spoil our beauty. But in the end, we shall prevail. This is just not cricket. This thing goes beyond the boundary. It's up to you and me to make sure that they fail. Soon we must take a sign or be lost in the rubble in a divided world that don't need islands no more. Are we doomed forever to be at somebody's mercy? Little keys can open up mighty doors. Rally, rally round the West Indies. No one forever, yeah. Rally, rally round the West Indies. Never say never, no. Pretty soon the runs are gonna flow again like water. Bringing so much joy to each and every side.